they were very religious.
Yeah.
They recognized gods in their life. They understood the role of gods in their life. So they were, in a sense, maybe more reachable than people who had no religion. So paganism may be closer to Christianity than than maybe even the environment that we live in this country.
Secularism,
today. Secularism, because you're.
Well, the existence of what we call nuns, that's how they're classified. No identification. See, we could say that during that time there were some that were atheists. We could say that about them, but like what you're saying is that no, they had their own deities. And when you got conquered, you took on my deity because obviously gods are involved.
Yeah, think about Acts 17 where Paul is on Mars Hill there.
Yeah.
And so he identifies this particular monument to the unknown God. And so he's speaking their language. And he just starts giving them definition to who that unknown God is. That's somebody who planned your life for you. He knows the times and the boundaries of your habitation, and he did it so that you would seek after him.
And the interesting thing is that we have deities that are not deities in the 21st century. They're just as an equivalent as an idol because it occupies a very significant place in our hearts. So the critical thing is that not only do I acknowledge, the God who created the universe, but I have to reject the other deities as well.
Right.
It's not like I'm going to add this guy to. That's the challenge of the ministry.
Monotheism is what you're talking about.
Yeah. And Israel was the only people group that had that. And had a deity that you couldn't see.
That's a quote from some Stoic poet.
Yeah.
And the reference is to Zeus. When you look at the original context, it's to Zeus, who supposedly had these supernatural abilities.
Supposedly.
So they were very. So he was speaking their language. He was able to present this knowable God, this God that is not just knowable, but actually personally cares about you, in the context of language they could understand completely, which made it easier for them, for that church to be built and grow.
Well, I think you've seen the miracle of church planting without being able to speak the national language, so it's being interpreted. So, that's pretty amazing.
It's the language of the heart, right?
Yeah. That's amazing.
I brought those. She brought those for us. I have all the materials to build the bracelets, the beads. I bought a bunch of beads and brought. Do you know how many tracks are here, Pastor?
No, I don't.
Yeah. I do anyway, so.
Me as well, right?
Count, yeah.
Well, you can do it all by yourself.
We can make as many bracelets as we want because there's more of those.
That's true, yeah.
How did things go, by the way, with the home show?
I have right, let me see what year
Last year, my opinion, after the home show, like a whole year had to go by. We saw the effects of the whole show more than 5-6 years because people saved the number.
There's a point in time when you just say, is it really worth it?
Whatever, but Like already,
if I saw something
somebody
that's,
gave him a lead.
If it's a nice project, sure.
Yeah, but then it wasn't a good contact for him, you know, like, but it was a good contact.
straight,
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? He didn't want to buy anything, but I just,
I got a little bit.
I feel that way too.
It's like evangelist.
Window job is
Because I've spoken to
small. I got one window down there. Wow, that's a try.
Instead of one-day job.
Yeah.
you know,
That's good. I mean, it's when you have to go back, that's when you have to go back 2 or 3 days and you're eating up all the profits on gas.
Yeah.
For something close by, there's a couple of people that I spoke to, they're out with friends.
That's the other thing.
They're interested out
You know, the
there.
advertisers
That's
are
no
areas,
way
people
that I sell
way
that.
out. That's the other thing.
So this is only one
To
page?
take on his uncle's business.
Okay.
Two.
It's only 4 times.
So you got the beads, and so you gotta put all the different colors on the string?
Just people pick and choose, then once you
Yeah.
spend, it's expensive.
Hopefully he's not
You
colorblind.
have to have good weather, you have to have employees,
It would be a problem.
you have to have workman's comp, and you have to have all that insurance.
Kids do
And
it.
I don't think,
Maybe I'll put
unless
two
you're gonna
yellows
do
on
it
it.
all the way, then don't do it.
Is he selling it? Or just,
And the trivia question of the day would be, how
So there was
many
100. So probably 100.
Restoration stuff.
There's 100.
Okay.
Nah, maybe a little
Probably, I mean,
less.
he has an apartment,
Because
and
this
I
is
gave him a
53,
thing to,
so it's gotta be less. Probably about 80 or 90.
nurses or
That's good.
expert
That's a good number.
And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna use it
Per
for?
diem,
Well,
only
we
here
do-
for
we-
13 weeks, they need a place
When we
to
do
live.
First Fridays,
There's a website
So
for
First
people
Fridays.
who want to rent.
we'll come and we'll set up our booth. When people come by, we'll put bracelets on. You ever do that? Did you know about
His
these?
daughter came
We had
townhome, she rents it out
We had,
to 3 different people.
one of the founders of Christian Farmers that came to a church
You know,
Yeah, years ago.
years ago, and he was talking about the beads and the community and the impact they have around the world.
I remember that. Yep.
And then they handed like, I don't know, thousands of these things. And then the whole church was walking around with these beads. Everyone was wearing one. And we used it for evangelism.
Yeah. They work pretty good. They work pretty good.
Yeah, I was with Pastor Minicello in Canton. So we evangelized the whole Canton with the, and gave the beads. They have a park there, really nice park. So
Yep.
we kind of were in the park hanging out, handing out beads to people. And then they have a book also that goes with this as a story behind how this came about.
Oh.
About the organization and
the history of
history of it. Yeah, they're like a little, maybe 30 pages or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
they're very big. They one of the leaders of that organization came to church in Baku, and they gave a bunch of stuff to us, and we had so much stuff we couldn't like hand it out. It was just for years we had that stuff. So eventually we went to library, the public library, and we said, can we give you some of the material, and this is not for sale, and it's not like a book you rent, or if anyone wants, just give it to them. And that was done within a month, thousands of these, because it was free. You put a sign on sign said free, and then we had the beads, the whole like a box, shoe box, dumped all the beads.
it was in his area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good.
So anyone who comes in to read a book, students, older people, doesn't matter. They just on the way back they take the book and they pick one of this and the bead and they leave.
There's a testimony of someone, I don't know, I want to say Nepal or, some remote,
Where? Nepal?
maybe even Nepal. And they found somebody that was wearing the beads.
Yeah, somewhere out. Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty
just
big.
keep going and going
Pastor Sheldon was at one point was preaching, and he had the beads, and he did this, his sleeves like this on purpose, and he had a mic and he's talking, and you could see the beads on both of his arms. This was kind of, he didn't say anything about it, but some people started wondering, like, what is this in his arm? And then there was a little corner when you walk out of the church. For you people who are wondering what was Pastor wearing, pick one and go.
Yeah. It's also a unique way for people to learn how to give the gospel out, because it's such a simple, all you have to do is remember 5 points, because, some people that might not know how to evangelize per se, their thoughts are like all over the place, and you really don't communicate it, right?
Yeah.
But if they focus on each thing, there's 5 things you gotta let it know, and it comes across, yeah.
Romans Road.
Yeah.
The,
I don't use that.
the best,
Or the 4 spiritual laws.
the best tactic we had was giving these beads out to children at the children's program. So we had like maybe 35 kids or something like that, and the kids go home with the beads. Now, mom is one thing. Our target was dads.
Yeah.
So when a daughter comes to you, she's 5 or 7, and dad is like, "What is this? Let me tell you, this is blood. This is this." And then,
Yeah, and that's how you get, through kids, because that's why First Friday is great to do it, because we set up a tent, and then hundreds of people are walking by, so we're saying to the kids, and we give you a bracelet, and then we give the kid the gospel, but the parents are standing right there, they're watching, and they're listening, so while you're teaching the kid the gospel, they're just like the parents, they're dialed in.
Imagine that with sketchboard. You just have like the black, and then you're like, whatever you do to have like sin, like the word for each color.
Yeah.
And then people from a distance are seeing,
Yeah.
You're telling these little group of kids, or parents are that much more. I just don't know how to do that. Sketchboard. Couldn't do it. I need a sketchboard class.
I got one.
You got one. You got 2 classes.
2 sketchbooks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the good part. And we're going to be in the park in May. And so we could have that and make sure that we have plenty of bracelets.
Yeah.
You sent me an email about First Friday.
Yeah, May through October.
Okay.
The only one we normally don't do is July, which happens to be on the 4th of July. First Friday's on the 4th of July, so I don't know how that's going to go. I don't even know if they'll have First Friday on. Oh yeah, no, they will, because it's on that email. You can, yeah.
That's interesting because the parade would be probably around. Oh no, the parade's on Saturday.
Parade's on Saturday, right?
They'll have it.
I think the bricks will be done by then too.
Sorry?
I think the bricks will be done by then.
Bricks?
The bricks.
Oh, the bricks.
I hope so. City Council hopes so. So,
Oh, right, yeah. Carl said it was going to be like 30 more days.
how many?
30. But he said that before too. He said that 2 months ago.
I saw a construction guy out
Old
here.
street workers.
He was taking one piece to the dumpster.
Yeah.
One piece to the dumpster. And so I said, yeah. Piece by piece. And he said, yeah, you got that right.
That's government work for you.
Yeah, he wasn't working up the sweat. So Galatians chapter 2, kind of quickly here, so we don't
to send Kim over there to talk to them.
Verse 2, there's a group in there. I don't know who that group is. But Paul says, I went up by revelation. That's good. And communicated unto them the gospel which I preached among the Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation. Who are those people? So you have Gentiles, and then you have those who were of reputation. Whose reputation, or had it, what reputable thing could be said about those folks? And why Paul went to them and identified them as a separate group.
Probably the leaders.
Come on. Leaders of what? Were they leaders of the Sanhedrin? Were they the Pharisees?
Synagogue, something to do with the synagogue, probably. Something to do with the synagogue, the religious crowd, maybe. Not sure.
No, we're not
I
sure.
never really thought of it. Did you?
I didn't either until it came up. I think it was aristocracy, because aristocracy as a governmental form existed since Israel asked for a king. As soon as Saul, because they were the ones that were in charge, there were three things that the aristocracy had. They had heritage, they had wealth, and they had military power. They had the guns. And so that's how they maintained their hold on power. And that was that, and they would not mix with any other group of people. They had the estates, they had the resources from the field. I think it's in Proverbs it says, and the king is served by the field. And so, yeah. So isn't it interesting that, in terms of people that have those three resources, that all went to them. It didn't exclude them. And they would have thought that they were entitled by God, or their deity, whichever one they may have worshipped, considered. They are privileged to have that, but then they're going to keep it. There's only one case, the Prince's Pauper, where you see the swap out. But all through human history, there was the elite, and then there was everybody else. Now we have a democrat, and democracy kind of leveled the playing field a little bit. But I'm wondering if there's not all, a hidden aristocracy on the planet now in the 21st century.
Oh, totally Democrats.
No, the Democrats.
That's the birth of the Democratic Party right there.
No, they're not even close. They are pawns on the end of the string.
Trying to crucify a guy that's trying to save the country.
Well, isn't
Well, yes, but they want to save the country their way.
Right. They're going to line their own pockets.
Yeah.
It's save nothing.
Paul was bringing the gospel to the Gentiles, which was totally contrary to what was going on in Jerusalem. Jerusalem, they were ministering to Jews, and so for them, it was they continued to honor the requirements of the law because it was part of their tradition, it was part of their upbringing, it was their life. So they weren't asked to kind of do away with that. Where Paul was talking a much simpler message. He was saying, no, just believe in who Jesus is, and you'll be saved. And there's no works program there. James in James chapter 2, it speaks of the, that faith without works is dead. That James was the leader of that Jerusalem church. So the controversy that existed, and we see it later in this chapter in Galatians 2, where Peter is treating people differently. He's treating the Jews differently than the Gentiles.
Going on with grace message.
Yeah.
Those who had reputation showed up.
So I think it was that whole controversy that was really on display here.
That's why they had to have a council meeting.
Yep.
Let's sit down and talk about that.
But even before all the debating between grace and works and everything like that, the main bone of contention was always the resurrection. As soon as people heard resurrection, that's when the sparks started to fly. They were actually, even on Mars Hill, they would have accepted this thing, And they start talking about the resurrection, and go, like, okay, all bets are off.
That's a deal breaker, huh?
Because the resurrection is the basis of our faith, but it's also why we're intolerant of other faiths, of other ways to get to God. Jesus said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life." No man. We are so intolerant in that sense. We're intolerant because there's only one name given among men whereby we must be saved. So the resurrection is what, and the Romans would have accepted their religion too.
Sorry?
The Romans would have accepted Christianity, but when they said, no, he's not a way, he is the way, is it? And they're like, that's when resistance comes.
Well, the resurrection makes the whole new program spiritual. Instead of it being religious
and
now,
it nullifies everything else.
it brings it to another level. So it's a whole new message. It's built on the previous message, but it's a whole new one on a different plateau. If you're going to walk with God, it's going to be not because you're religiously good, but because you have surrendered yourself to that higher life and that you're now experiencing it on the inside.
Yeah, and it makes every religion, pagan or not, null and void. It literally cancels out anything that calls itself the truth, or a truth.
It does, but the guy on the street, is thinking, the only victory I've had, you got 100 sheep, I got 50. And I'm working as hard as you are. Must be that you have some inside information, or you have a deity that's blessing you.
What again?
Well, he had, we had Paul here, Paul Harvey. He had the rest of the story. He was delivering, the inside scoop on what was actually going on here, wasn't he?
But the first one says that after 14 years, he decided, the verse that you read, the verse 1 says, after 14 years with Barnabas, he decided to go into the same area to visit the people who are of a high priority or whatever.
High reputation.
High reputation. So 14 years ago, they went to Lystra, and while he was speaking at a synagogue, one guy who was limping from birth, got healed, which caused the rabbis to kick them out of the synagogue. That's Acts 13 or 14. So I think he went and visited those people who kicked them out from the city for the second time after 14 years. So he's going around the same area
That's true, yeah.
where he was before, and obviously the people in government, people in religious people who are in charge of the book, he went second time to visit them after 14 years.
14 years in a man's life.
Yeah.
Most of that was spent, I believe, in Tarsus. He actually went back
Tarsus,
to
Lystra,
Cilicia,
Judea,
is the province
Syria,
where
yeah, all the
Tarsus
whole,
is.
the whole area.
So he went back there. He was getting insight from God. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, he tells a story of a man that he knew 14 years prior, who was caught up into the third heaven.
Yeah.
And we know that he was speaking about himself. If you look at the Greek context, and so what was God doing? He was giving him fresh insights into the scripture that he knew, but from a totally new perspective that Jesus is the Messiah. And so he was that period of time was him just being totally reoriented
Yeah.
to the new covenant, so that he could preach it and write all the letters that he wrote.
It's funny, you talk, the guy gets healed, Jesus talks, woman gets healed, but people of a high esteem or whatever, high priority, they kick you out.
Yeah.
It's not according to their regulation. You can't do that. You can't heal a
It
person.
didn't originate with them.
Yeah. Control.
That's right.
So it's like Pastor used to visit this. He used to tell us he would visit the same door 42 times before the guy finally got saved. Right?
Yeah, on the 42nd time, you got saved.
Well, I mean, because people's lives, like, I don't need God. I don't need God. And then, yeah, whatever little house of cards I had built collapses, so now I need to, like, how do I go forward from here?
Yeah.
So yeah, like we've been here. This is coming up on our 14th year.
Oh,
Yeah. And so
Time
somebody
flies.
said, "Are you still doing First Fridays? Are you still, are you still evangelizing?" And I think when we first got here, and we started over there by Somerset Village, I think it is. The Section 8 homes, and then kind of worked our way, through. We probably not. There's back in the day, 10 years ago, there was like 11,000 doors in this, not on the hill, but just down here. And we probably knocked on, I would say, maybe 80% of those doors. But to go again, is like, yeah. And the one thing that's unique about here is that people were born here, they went to school here, and they're still living here. They didn't move out, But then you have folks that came from somewhere else, and they principally live up on the hill. Those are our, persons of reputation, the Holy Rock and, others. Because they don't, like they came here because it was, they got a boat in the marina, But the ones that went to Perry, to Havre de Grace High School, and, their mother was here, their parents were here. Those are the folks.
So those people who were 10 years old when you came,
Wow,
they're 24 now.
isn't that interesting?
grown
That's
man
right.
or woman, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, Roof, you know what First Friday is?
Yeah.
Just, I didn't know if you knew that.
No, but that's such a good point.
Yeah,
You know, that
Yeah.
is, you know, the next generation,
yeah,
and it doesn't take long. Yeah. So a 10-year-old, you know, is 24. He probably has, you know, started a family or is getting home from college or, you know, something like that.
And when they will be 50, they're going to say, that church been here forever. Since I was 10, they were here.
That's right.
we just want to pass the baton of grace.
Yeah.
That's right.
Pass the baton of grace, because if Jesus tarries, we'll be in glory before they will.
That's right. We find the future church in the park.
You say that. I was thinking about it recently. There's a new church in Harford County, and when you go scroll through their page, it showed up on my Facebook. They have their main focus is children's ministry. So if somebody has a really big home and they're doing Bible studies, but they're taking them, I don't know, to different events, bowling and pizza, then an event somewhere local, but they have a lot of children, and I just thought, I said to Eddie, I go, I hope they do well, because, I mean, there's some doctrinal statements on their page, but I'm just saying that they're Christian. And I just said to him, I go, that's how you build a church, is with the young, like you said, we're going to meet families, we're going to be in the park. Children are, like always say, children are your future, but I feel like that's true. In my heart, I feel like it's true. But,
Families.
yeah. People care about what, like, it's okay for you to minister to, like, my coworkers. If you want to minister to my children, I'm not interested. I think it's good for my children.
We need
You know,
to
Brittany says that. Her kids ask me questions.
we need to
Tough
pray. We
questions.
need to pray that way. But Rufat said something earlier that kind of pertains to that. It's like these days, kids are as special as they are. They're like this all the time. Even 7, 8, 9 years old, they're like that.
Adults are too.
It's very
Adults are too.
challenging. It's got to be a different kind of challenge these days to communicate.
No, there is.
And then if
You know,
they
I
want to
believe
come.
that a ministry needs to have a digital outreach. You know, the crazy thing is that we know how valuable outreach is, and we go in person. But we also now realize, I mean, we're going to find people here, so no longer is it, you know, just for the sick and the shut-in, people that can't get into the building. It's like, no, these people that you wanted to speak to, they're going to be found here, and so you need a voice there that will then direct them to the building. I mean, in every broadcast I say, this is not a substitute for in-person fellowship.
Do you use TikTok to preach?
I
that
don't,
what you're
because
talking about?
I think it infiltrates the phone. They'll tell you right up on the privacy,
Yeah.
you know. I think at some point they could press a button and take over your phone, because it's a download.
At some point, somebody's going to press the button and your car will stop. Because you're not in charge of it.
Yeah.
Didn't they press a button before and the phones blew up?
Yep. Yep.
The Israelis did that.
From going up. Yeah.
Yep.
So we can use these today. I mean, unless you have some other tracks.
I have some lighthouse tracks. Okay. I kind of like to keep those with the beads.